Welcome to another episode of the Everyday Game Changers podcast. Man, we're talking to everyday people that's changing the game in business, community, music, influence, whatever. And I got a special guest today. This will be a very easy episode because we can go so many different directions with this episode.
Yeah.
But I have the wonderful, the talented Chelsea Walsh. How are you today?
Oh, what an intro. All right. I'm good. I'm good. How are you?
Good, man. She got me up early this morning to get this done.
Yes.
I mean, we can go a couple different ways. I really want to talk about the entrepreneur stuff. I really like. Like for one, the Girl Going Wireless title is amazing to me from a branding standpoint. Like I'm a branding guy and I love catchy names and I'm like, oh man, how she come up with that? That's amazing. Talk to me about the Girl Going Wireless, how you came up with the name and a
Oh,
little bit about the about behind it.
yeah, sure. My pleasure to do that. This whole thing came about during the pandemic. We were all bored out of our minds, right? And what I find is that creative people need a lot of time to do nothing.
Mm,
Um, and when I had all that time to sit with all of my feelings, all of my thoughts, and just everything go through all of that with everyone in the world,
right.
I had like a little bit of a break. I don't know if it was psychotic or if it was creative, but I was just like, let me just write all this stuff down.
Right.
And I started kind of getting something that was coming together. And I was living with two other of my friends in a brand new apartment. We were like, oh, this year is going to be great. We moved in January. And the end of February is like a different story for the whole world. It's now COVID outbreak everywhere, crazy. So we were just like everyone else, stuck in the house, and a little paranoid at that. I think we took it a little far. But the whole thing with Girl Gone Wireless came about. We were trying to come up with, I think, our Wi Fi name. And for some reason, I was like, Girls Gone Wireless. I was like, there
My
you go.
goodness, look at that.
And we really like had like a full on think tank about it. I was like, because we always had funny Wi-Fi names. We've lived together for a couple of years. And like the time before that was like a little inappropriate. I won't share that one, but like always jokes. And I was like, all right, we got to come up with something that's going to top it. And that just stuck in my head and I couldn't get it out. I sat on that for a couple of months. And then, like, around June, I started doing the podcasting myself, and I was like, I got to come up with a name for this thing. And I was like, oh, I think this would be perfect. It makes sense. And I just dropped the S and it was Girl Gone Wireless.
Name. I just was like when we was doing the digital buzz article
Yeah.
on you, the feature, I'm like, oh my gosh, this name. I'm a name guy, right? So it's
Yeah.
just like when somebody has a witty name or something like, oh my gosh, I
Yeah.
couldn't have thought of that. How did she come up with that name? But it's marketable. So
Yeah.
you got something if you even just hold that and sell that name down the road somewhere.
No, that's mine now. But I did when I was doing some research and looking at, who already had come up with the name and stuff. I started finding random YouTube channels that hadn't been used in like years, or they always had the S on it. So I was like, okay, definitely gonna be girl because I'm the girl.
Right.
But I saw like a couple of podcasts too with Girls Gone Wireless, and it's like a duo team, and they're talking about sex and things like that. And they were trying to think, kind of spin off of Call Her Daddy,
Mm,
or Girls in the Office, like anything from Barstool Sports or the like. So I was inspired by that too, but I didn't want to rip it off too much. And I hadn't really noticed that I found that other podcast until the other day when I made mine go on Spotify and Apple Music. I was like, oh, searching for me. And here these two girls are. Like, I was like, okay, well, whatever. I was like, I'm not really going to be talking about dildos and shit, but here we
right.
are.
So that's crazy. So just but that's super important. Just that little change in taking the S off,
Yes, yes.
the difference in everything from a
We could
brand name and
say
market.
it was a game changer.
Of course. So I
And
like that.
I love your name too. I
The
want to
hard.
know, when did you start the whole digital buzz thing, by the way?
So what happened? So a few years ago, when I first relocated to South Florida, I retired from the music business. I used to be a recording artist,
Hmm.
and I wanted to have a platform to showcase artists. So I had a website called hiphopdose.com. It did really well. It does a lot of traffic. Um, but the problem with the Hip Hop Dose name was it only tailored to people who did music in the hip hop community, right? So
Right.
we limited ourselves to work with pop artists and R&B and rock and jazz. So I was just like, man, we really need to cast a bigger net on the type of people, because I don't just want to do musicians. I want to do entrepreneurs. I want to do
Yeah.
business owners and
Hmm.
artists and painters. And so I was just like, we gotta really think about something that's more, it's not so tight niched, right? Because
Yeah.
so I was like, man, this digital buzz thing, like I always wanted to have my own platform because I was writing for so many other people's platforms. And I'm
Yeah.
like, man, I'm writing for Medium and Thrive and New York Weekly, and I'm putting all of this content on other people's stuff. Great
Hmm.
writing. I need
Hmm.
to, I don't have my own platform other than Hip Hop Dose, which only showcase
Crazy.
music. So I said, you know what? I'm gonna start my own platform. I hit my website guy up. I'm like, yo, I got the name. And he's like, what is, I mean,
It's
I've
such
tried,
a good feeling when that happens.
oh my, it took forever because I kept trying to have something with the word global in it. And
Mm.
it just didn't work.
Yeah. Yeah.
Global didn't work. But I knew a lot of the magazines were going to the digital aspect, right? So if you look at
Mhm.
a lot of the big publications, nobody really actually has a magazine in stores anymore. Everything went online.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, so it's got to have the word digital in it, and it's got to be something global. And then, so my friends, he's like, yo, so what are you going to be talking about? Like the stuff that's like buzzing around? And I'm like, buzzing around? Say, that's,
Yeah.
I got it.
Yeah.
So I'm like, that's what it could be, digital buzz.
Yeah.
And I started doing some research, and there was already a name for digital buzz. The problem was it was outdated. So they
Hmm.
hadn't posted on this site in probably 3, 4 years.
Ah, we ran into the same thing.
So I'm
Literally.
like, oh my gosh. So
Mhm.
they're digital buzz, we're digital buzz now. Like they're
Yeah.
old. And I was just like, that's it. Digital buzz now. And we just ran with it. And I mean, it was tough, honestly, to build that brand because I had no clue what I was doing. I just seen people that was online making
Mhm.
some noise that I'm like, yo, I mean, I think they would be good for the platform. They
Mhm.
doing some things, and I don't have no problem just writing about them, whatever I can do.
Yeah.
Um, and it was just like, yo, let's do it. And I had a guy that came on, Winston, and he's just like, yo, let me be your chief editor, and I'll just reach out to everybody. You just send me a list of who you want to get on the site, and I'll just sit there as long
Nice.
as you give me access to be able to write whenever I want. That's all he wanted.
Okay. Good.
Oh, that's free. Cool.
That works
So
out. Oh, it's free.
yeah,
Even better.
it's
So you're not
free.
like a producer, editor, like talent scout, whatever
He
you
just
need.
wanted to be involved. So I never discredit him for helping me with the
Mhm.
follow up on getting people to actually answer the questions for us to write the articles. And then, you know what I mean? And for a while, I was literally writing the articles myself, right? So if you look at all of my articles, it's just like, I just was naturally a writer. So, if
Mhm.
we send you these questions, the more elaborate you answer these questions, the better your article probably will be. Um,
Definitely.
so that was how Digital Buzz came about. And now we've got like 22 writers, and like I can't even tell you the last time I actually went on the site. That's so bad.
Oh, well, whatever.
It's just like it just
You
runs,
you
like
have your team. It's in full swing.
it just
So that's
runs
excellent.
now. And it's like, now we to a place where we can do some advertising and we can sell ad space, and it's just like,
Mhm.
I mean, that wasn't the purpose. The purpose was to have my own platform. And
Right.
now we have that. If I ever want to get on there and talk, I can just get on there and write, or I can share, and we have an actual audience who's listening and watching. So,
Very
but
nice.
that was good. That was good though. But it was that change, man. I had the hip hop website, and we just had to cast a wider net with
Yeah.
Digital Buzz
That was
now.
really wise of you to shift like that, to involve more people and more
Yeah,
like
because even in the spaces of people that are, music artists, or
Mhm.
let's say a painter or they still are all basically an entrepreneur, right? When you're a
Yeah.
music artist, you self-employed if that's or
Yep.
that's your hobby until you quit your job, right? So it's
Mhm.
still just tied into what we were doing as far as same thing with the influencer. Like that wasn't a word a couple
10
years
years
ago.
ago. 10 years ago wasn't a thing.
That's a whole business like
Yep.
influencer. So I think that's the good thing about digital bus. So now I've seen way more success in less than 3 years with that site. And Hip Hop Dose has been around since 2013, and
Okay.
it still does great, but
Yeah.
it's an
So
audience
two of your
specific.
babies are grown now.
They grown, man. So I just let those things run, man. I'm super grateful to be able to have people that just even want to be involved and want to write for the site and
Hmm.
do some good things for them. Like a lot of our writers for Hip Hop Dose, they get access to all the festivals, the cover media. So they just like, oh man, this is dope. Like I can meet my favorite artists under the
Yeah.
Hip Hop Dose because I stopped
Who wouldn't
going.
want to do that?
I stopped going. It was just too much. Like
Yeah.
to handle it and travel to be at all
Mhm.
these shows and festivals. You meet some great people, but it's just like the media aspect. I was over it. Like I
Yeah.
never wanted to be on camera.
I feel like that would just be exhausting. But on the other hand, I would love to be on camera. So
You
I
did
don't
this see
I
I
don't know.
because so when I was an artist, like when I retired from being in the music business, it was like the biggest weight lifted off my shoulders, like from
Really.
having to be the artist, like constantly posting, you constantly filming. That I was just like, when I retire, I just want to be behind the scenes. All the people that make the money in the music business are behind the scenes. That's
Very
where
true.
I want to be. And there's no age limit on being behind the scenes, right? You don't
That's
got to
very
be.
true.
So
Yep.
I'm like, this is it. So like when I started building Hip Hop Dose and I had to go to be media and literally my wife is the camera lady and I'm the like the host, like, hi, this is from Hip Hop Dose. We're
Wait,
here
wait,
at
I got
the
a hairbrush. Hey.
yeah. We're at the Travis, we at the Kendrick Lamar show and then but I got to meet some great people. Um
Yeah.
so it gave me access to a lot of people that I probably wouldn't have access to. So I think the people that come on that want to write for us, they want access, right? So
Mm-hmm.
we can send their media credentials and get them in anything that they
Yeah.
want. So
That's a really cool experience. I'm glad you had to, but wanted to
yeah,
go through that.
yeah, it was good. So like talk to me about this CEW communications. You doing that consultant work still and
Yes, I am. Yes, I am. Right now, it turned into like a full-time thing for me, kind of on accident.
okay.
So I had a couple of clients, and they are in a seasonal business format,
Okay.
and I would just come and go when they needed me. And that's what I liked about the whole thing, kind of strings attached, but not. Um,
Gotcha.
and they ultimately decided they wanted my help all the time, so that was really good. So now that I help my client Chuck Seafood, they have their whole restaurant. They've been around since 1961. They're a landmark here in Fort Pierce because where I live, where I moved back to after Miami, is my hometown. And it's a small town, but like in the last 5 years, just being away and coming back, like there's a lot going on now. So it's really cool to see it. I'm appreciating the whole thing, the whole place as an adult more and more every day. But with Chuck's, so they're a very established brand. And now, since kind of having my help and just another manager type figure from the outside, they were able to develop their whole seaside bar. Now they have entertainment every like weekend. Now we have an agent booking the talent Thursday to Sunday. So we took it from like mom and pop great fried shrimp to like this is an island oasis. So I really am digging that. It's cool
Add
to
to my
see.
list now. I gotta check it out.
Oh, yeah, seriously. Like celebrities come to Chuck's on a regular basis.
Wow.
Like if you were to come in, um, I'll invite you anytime you want to visit. But if you were to come in, it's like memorabilia everywhere, rock and roll, like Americana, and then you see pictures of like Shania Twain's there, Howie Mandel. Like you're like, huh? So it's pretty
Cool
crazy.
spot, right?
Yeah, yeah, it's got a lot of character, so I'm really enjoying that because now I've decided to do that full time. But there's a couple other clients that I still help whenever they need, like I don't know, like business cards or whatever it is, like light graphic design stuff or an idea around a campaign, I'm there to help them. But this is like my main thing right now.
So is it like more like, so what, how would you classify it? More like branding or like
More like
digital
brand.
marketing? More, so more
More,
like branding.
it's become more like branding. I wanted it to be more digital marketing in the beginning, just like DMS services, SEO, whatever you need. But I started to realize that the age of the clientele and the market that I'm in, those people didn't really care about those things. They just wanted to
Mm.
make their company more of a household name and a little more like, up to that next level, like how we're able to do in this case with Chucks. So just elevating what they already have and just finding that like natural talent or like tingle with the brand or the product and making it explode,
And
basically.
that's crazy. So I give you a little example. So I have a marketing company in
Yeah.
Hollywood, Florida called the Brand Castle.
Mm-hmm.
And we were the complete opposite. Like I wanted to do branding and
Yeah.
all of our clients, SEO, social media management,
Mhm,
keyword research. And I'm just like,
mhm.
oh, it's named the Brand Castle. Like we
I
want to do
know,
branding, right?
I
But
know.
what happened? When COVID hit, I lost every client.
Damn.
Every client.
They were
Because
just like, "Well, this is a luxury we don't need right now." Is that what they said to you?
they just said to me, hey Barry, we love what you're doing, but right now we don't even know if we're gonna keep the doors open, let alone
Yeah.
pay the marketing guy, right? So I'm just like, I left my job to start this marketing company. What am I gonna
Oh my
do?
goodness.
It was crazy. So I'm
Ooh,
just like, my wife's looking at me like, yeah, what are you going to do? Like, you quit your
exactly.
job. I literally quit my job August 8th, 2019. I
Mhm.
think COVID hit like around February, March 2020,
Like, South Florida, I feel like for real, we got
right
scared
after the
in
Super Bowl.
February. Yeah,
Yeah,
right
yeah,
after
yeah,
Super Bowl. Right after
yeah.
we, like,
All
got the
those
whole
people came.
cesspool turned up, like,
Exactly,
yeah.
exactly. So I'm just like, it was just, it literally happened in like 2 days, right? One client
Mhm.
called, hey, Baron, I don't know if you paying attention to this COVID stuff. It's really affecting our business. The marketing budget is the first budget to do. I was like,
Absolutely.
wow. And then for me, like, I never believed in keeping clients on like a long term like contract for like yearly, right? So it's like
Mhm.
when they work with us, I ask them, yo, give me at least 3 months to get it where we need to get it, and then you can go month to month. So if you ever not happy with the service, you
Yeah,
free to walk away. You're not married to me. I think it's fair for both parties, and that's it.
great way to do
And
it.
yeah, but when that happened, it was just like one happened, and then I got another call, and I'm like, are they all together right now? They're like calling at the exact
Yeah,
same time, and I'm just like,
yeah.
oh
It
my
was very
gosh.
stressful. That's when I got laid off. I got laid off from my corporate marketing director job, April of 2020.
You was
Um,
doing it with the
no,
artist.
you probably don't even know. So I kind of kept it under wraps. I was working with an aviation company called Odyssey Engines,
Oh my
and
goodness, so
yeah,
many hats.
turbine engine shop, and I worked there for I was about to hit like a year and a half mark in May, and I was laid off furloughed in April. So
Wow.
I was still super charged up about it. Like I was loving it, learning a whole new industry, being with bougie people, planes, this, that, that.
Right.
I was like, okay. I was like, I could get used to this. And then it was just kind of like taken from beneath my feet. And
Wow.
I didn't understand it. I had so much like anger. I was just confused and the same feelings you were feeling. Um, and thank God they gave me like a little bit of help, like I think through the summer. I don't know. I think they paid me till like July. I was just like, thank God, because otherwise I didn't know what I was going to do.
Of
Because
course.
that was like my bread and butter. I was there full time, all their different locations down in South Florida. So it was kind of scary. It takes me right back to the day. I was just like, okay, me, okay, I gotta go, fine. So it was a little scary.
So like, and that's super important to talk about that pivot to like, what do you do when you feel like, okay, this is not going to work? Where do I go from here? Right. So
Yeah.
My situation, I literally had a realtor friend of mine's call me and he said, "Hey, Barion, I know you usually take pictures of models and stuff like that, but my real estate photographer, he's canceled a lot of my shoots because of this COVID stuff. He don't feel comfortable
Oh,
going into the houses with
oh,
people."
yeah, yeah,
He's like, "Can you take pictures of a house for me? Like, you think it's something you can do?" And I'm like, I mean, it's just a house. Like, it's just the kitchen and the bathrooms and stuff. Yeah, I could do it.
yeah. You could do that.
Yeah. So I went through and I'm like, cool. He's like, yeah, man, I'll pay you $300 if you can get it done. I'm like, all right, cool. So I
Okay.
go, take the pictures. He's like, yo, man, you so good. Like, you better than the guy that I hired. Like, can you do another one?
Damn.
And I'm in the house 30 minutes, 45 minutes. I made $300. I'm like, yo, when I worked at the window company, it took me like 2 days to make that 10 hours of
Exactly.
work. So I'm just like, okay. So then he
Mm-hmm.
called me again and I'm like, man, this guy really selling. Like, if I can get a couple more of him, this
Mm-hmm.
is this is a business.
Absolutely.
Or it was just like, so then he referred me to another realtor. Then they refer me to another realtor. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I gotta turn this into a business. This isn't a business yet. Like my
Yeah.
frame by Da Vinci stuff was portraits and fashion and
Separate. Yeah.
so when people seen that, it don't scream real estate, right? So I was
No.
just like, you know
No.
what? I gotta separate the real estate aspect of my photography and create something totally different. So I
Mm-hmm.
created Real Estate Captured June 8th, 2020.
Nice.
And
I like that name too. You're good at the names too, my friend.
Brand Castle hat. So we started Real Estate Captured June 8th, 2020, and we did six figures the first year. And I haven't even looked at the Brand Castle stuff for
Ah,
like and I just was like, man, what I get to just go into nice houses and take pictures. I'm in the
yeah.
house for 30 minutes, can make up to 500 to $1,000 a shoot. And I'm just
Mm-hmm.
like, oh my gosh,
Excellent.
this is the dream job, right? I'm behind the
Gotcha.
camera. Nobody's bothering me. I
Right.
don't
No
have to
drama,
pose
no.
nobody.
Yes. Yep. I like that for you. I like that for you.
This
That's
is
good.
amazing. So like in my eyes, I learned a lot because I was never in that space, right? So I had to learn that it was a 24-hour turnaround. You shoot
Yeah.
it on Monday, they need their pictures Tuesday, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, so when I was doing everything, I could only shoot one house a day because the
Mm-hmm.
turn had to go home and hurry up and start editing to have it ready for the next day. And then I'm like, I can't scale this at all. So
Right.
I found a team of editors. So now I'm doing like 4 to 5 houses a day.
There we
I'm
go.
just emailing it over. I hired two photographers and I was just like, look, I'm just going to blow this thing up. I want to grow it. Y'all just go out and shoot. Let me worry about the client. So I went
Mm-hmm.
literally door knocking to every real estate broker like, hey, what are you offering your real estate agents? I'm a licensed real estate agent. I've never sold one house. I got the
Mm-hmm.
license, never used it, right? So
Yeah. Same
I'm
here.
like, really?
I did that too when I was bored last
Really?
year. Yeah.
I've had my
I still haven't done anything with it. I was just like kind of waiting until a friend of mine gets hers and then she wants to do a team together. She wants to become a broker ultimately. So I was like, well, let me wait on that. I'm gonna just keep doing this little consulting stuff, whatever I'm doing. And so we'll see whenever that time comes. But
that's the hardest part that I found, right? So I got with a broker
yeah.
and I felt like the broker was using me for the marketing aspect for her brokerage. So when I got with the brokerage, I wasn't actually learning real estate. I was doing marketing for her company. So
See,
she
that's
so
the tricky thing.
she was selling that to the new agents. So no, we
Yeah.
have an in-house marketing guy that if you
Mm-hmm.
come to the office, he got cameras, he gonna film your little videos for reels and social media. And I'm like, you
Been there,
gotta
done that, man. You
you
know how many
gotta
times people have like pushed me into something because they see the resume and you're like, but I was hired for this and I wanted to do this and he told me I'd be doing this.
that's the
I
problem
feel your pain.
when
I
you're
feel
so
your
great. That's the problem us greats have is people just like, oh my, when you can do so many things, it's just like, oh, you like you're gonna add value everywhere you go, right? Because they
Mhm.
never gonna get all of that rolled into one person
Yeah.
any other time, right? And that was the same thing when I had a job, right? Like
Mhm.
I worked for a hurricane impact window company, and I was making I think 60,000 a year salary.
Decent salary in Florida. That's
Yeah,
good.
so when I started there, I was at like 40, and then in
Mhm.
like 6 years, I got up to like 60,000. And then
Mhm.
the guy told me, he's like, "You had a position in the company, you can't go up no more than 60. That's it." I'm like,
Wow.
for the rest of my life, like if I
Yeah.
stay
Yeah.
stuck at 60, so yeah,
Not good
and
enough.
we don't offer health insurance, and we like it's crazy. So I'm just like, okay, so I'm measuring windows, I'm on roofs, I don't have no health insurance, and
Yeah. Time to go.
yeah, so I was just like, okay. And I was just doing my little marketing and branding stuff on the side, like on the weekends or like after work. And I started noticing I was making more money just working Saturdays and Sundays on my stuff than working 60, 70 hours a week on this
Mhm.
company. And I was just like, you know what?
Yep.
Let me just stay here long enough to show some job history so I can buy my house, and
Mhm.
then I'm out. So I
Yeah.
bought my house, I got married, and I was just like, okay, so how much vacation time do I have to use up before I'm out of here?
Right.
And I'm just like,
So
cool.
that was the job you left at the end of 2019-ish or middle?
I
Gotcha.
was at a
Okay.
hurricane impact window company, and I mean, what I brought to that company was stuff they've never done. Like I brought
Right.
like, I mean, we did stuff for the Miami Dolphin Stadium, like big jobs.
Mhm.
A lot of the stuff in, like the Ray Hotel now in Del Rey. Like
Oh, nice.
I've done some big jobs.
And I'm sure you sourced all of those leads and things, you know what I'm saying, or found a way to make that relationship happen.
Yeah, because it was just like people felt comfortable having the
Mhm.
conversations with me that the money was never the issue. Like they would just come to me and say, "Hey, Baron, this is my budget. Like, you think you can do it? If you can do it, I want you to have the job. Like, don't worry about competing bids and all of that. This is the
Mhm.
budget we aligned. If it works, let's make it happen. And if not, and that's how I like it. Like, let's just be straight up. This is what it costs. Can you do it? Can we do it? Yes, no. And then business is very simple.
It is.
And
Yeah. You
I just
actually have something good to offer and a good product, it's easy.
I tell people like good business, nobody should feel like they lost in the
Mhm.
transaction. If
Yeah.
somebody feels like they lost, that's not good business. Like
No, they're
everybody at
doing something
least at the
wrong.
yeah, everybody at the end at least wants to feel like, all right, I got the upper hand or it was fair. But
Yeah.
so but that was the pivot, man. So I pivoted to real estate captured, and I tell
Mhm.
people, man, I could have sat there and just been like, what am I gonna do? I'm going to go sign up for Uber Eats or something. I gotta do something. But it was just a pivot, man. It was just like,
Yeah.
look, I didn't know I was gonna have a real estate photography company. The hardest thing though was I hired two photographers to work for me.
Mm.
I just 1099 them, and
Yeah.
they quit. They
Oh.
told me that they could make more money collecting unemployment and they could just stay home. And I'm like, this is the stuff for entrepreneurship that they don't show you that you have
Yeah.
to deal with.
Yeah, honestly, I ran into the same. I couldn't find talent for one of my clients. He had asked me to because beginning of my career, I was a recruiter in tech. Um, so I mean, once you learn kind of how to do it, you can apply to any industry. So I passed on some people to him. They said the same thing ultimately. Like they just didn't want to work. When they saw so and so around them or in their community, like banking or they have so many kids and every kid gets a check or whatever, I was just like, oh, so you're just gonna have another baby then? Like
And us
I
people suffering here.
the cop outs, I couldn't believe it. So again, I feel your pain. We have a lot of to commiserate about here.
Yeah, this is good, man. So like I love that. See, people think you just a pretty face, so that's why these conversations is gonna be good to have, right? So from
Yeah.
that, yeah, because I don't know. I'm gonna give the people, I'm gonna give you guys a little insight. So I knew Chelsea from the business aspect, right? You was working with the art Elizabeth Sutton.
Elizabeth
Uh,
Sutton. Yes.
okay, so originally met, you was in the business space,
Mm-hmm.
and from Frame by Da Vinci, I knew you as one of the most sought after models in South Florida.
Oh, goodness.
I say sought after is because as a photographer, I don't like shooting the same girls that everybody shoots, right?
Right.
So I put you in the category of selective models that I'm like, see, that's somebody I want to shoot with
Hmm.
because I haven't seen her shoot with all thousand of these photographers that goes on my page shopping for women. Like,
No, I didn't have time for that. I didn't have time
so
for that. There
I'm
are a
like,
lot of people I didn't want to shoot with.
she's in that creme de la creme of small people that's very selective with who she shoots with. And that's very hard here in South Florida, trust me,
Mm-hmm.
because everybody just shoots with everybody.
Yeah.
And I'm a photographer that's not even my space. I don't like to shoot with everybody. Like I like
Mhm.
either that creme de la creme exclusive list or the person that nobody shot at all, and I just kind of
Right.
want to talk.
A new face is always amazing to find, you know? So
I
it is.
always So tell me about like how you balance both of those two different worlds.
Hey, I don't know. I honestly don't really model that much anymore. I get people come up to me in the street or whatever at work, and they're like, "You should be a model. You like a face, like you should be a model, like hairy eyeball." I was like, I am, I was, I don't know, like I don't know how to answer it anymore. But the projects that I choose to include myself with are usually it's like an e-commerce thing now. It's completely changed. Like if I want to work with them, I'll make them a reel. I'll make them a TikTok. Like I'm not going to go to California right now to go shoot with you for 500 bucks. And I spent 500 bucks to go over there. So I did a shift last year and I was like, most of my stuff is going to be virtual if I so choose to shoot anymore. And I don't know, it changed for me. I had a moment where I was like, I don't even know if I like modeling anymore, to be honest.
Okay.
It had nothing to do with like the pressure of anything. I was just kind of in my head about it.
Mm,
Um, I started thinking how I could be doing so much more with all my other talents and potential. So I just started, I guess, big girl pants. I don't know. I just started to focus on my podcast. I brought it back recently.
okay.
I thought for a while there it was just dead and gone. Like last year, that's it. I gave it a shot. Like whatever, it didn't take off. But I got re-inspired. Within the last 2 months to bring that back. So I have that going on. And then the consulting stuff was just something I've always done since like 2019, 2018. I didn't realize I was in business for myself until like I got the LLC, but I had been doing freelance long before that.
Right. And that's
So,
super important, man, because I want to tell people that's how like I say like you said we got so many similar stories. I was just taking pictures for real.
mhm,
I'm like, I got this got to be a business. Like I got to
yeah.
register this thing for taxes and everything and get a little
Hmm.
bank account going and all of those things.
Hmm.
So how long would you say you've always had like this entrepreneurial, do you think it's like I always had the
I was little.
entrepreneurial bug or the creative bug or simultaneous?
It's a meta of that,
Okay.
both.
Okay.
Because let me give you a quick backstory. So, classically trained ballerina my whole life.
I
I
did not
stopped
know
when I
that.
was 20, 22.
Oh wow.
Now I'm 30. Usually people can't tell how old I am, but I'm 30.
I
So,
wouldn't have guessed 30.
God bless Jean's mom and dad. Yes.
Wouldn't have
Um,
guessed 30.
thanks. So I guess I've always had that classical, the arts foundation. I
Mhm.
went to arts private school
Okay.
prior to going to college, and then my college was liberal arts private. So
Wow.
I just kept that going. I was like, I only want the best for myself, and my parents wanted the same. So they just really supported me in everything that I did. Nothing was ever a stupid question or a stupid idea. Um, I felt like even though they had a rocky relationship and divorce during all of that, they still came to bat for me. So having that I never doubted myself. I was like, I can do anything, because literally my parents have been telling me I could do anything since I was a baby. So I thank them. Credits a lot to them. But just realizing I I did actually bring more to the table. I think that connection was made shortly after I stopped dance, because I almost felt valueless after that when I stopped ballet. I was like, who am I? So much of my identity is this.
Got
Um,
you.
so right after college, I was like, I go back to it and I like open a dance studio and I go that route and I'm poor forever, or I go try to chase a dream in New York or LA and work with a dance studio, like a professional dance studio as a talent. So I decided to not ultimately. I sat on it for a good 6 months, and my family was like, make money or again, be broke and be broken as a body by
Of
age
course.
35. Um,
Wow.
so I had to make a really tough call, and I went the business queen route.
Nice. The
Yeah.
business queen. Look at you.
Yeah.
Such a brander yourself. So
My
like,
friends been calling me business queen since I was 20, because I think with all the private school stuff and uniforms, I've been dressing like a 35-year-old since I was like 20 years old. Like it's always been professional type
yeah.
stuff. So I feel like when you dress like that, it starts with how you look, and if you believe it, you sell it, yada yada yada. It builds
I
upon
cut,
itself.
so I had to cut my hair, man.
Yeah,
Nobody
yeah,
knows I have tattoos until I wear a short shirt.
that's fine.
I'm just like, yo, when I come into the room, I can't give
Mhm.
them no negative vibes from anything. So
Yeah.
I gotta be presentable. So like, all right, so you just blessed us with the ballet. I knew the ballet thing from your digital buzz story.
Yeah.
But what's one thing other than the ballet now that you shared that with us that people don't know that you do? Like, could be a hobby, or you're a
Mm.
stamp collector, or you like
All right, all right. Being more on camera in the last 2 years and helping other people with their podcasts and stuff, it's probably not something that's hard to guess, but I would love to be a media host. And
hmm,
if I
I could
could,
see that.
if I could take my try at stand-up comedy, people don't know that I'm actually really funny. So
Really?
yeah, it's like a real secret, like, because the stage fright is real, but like if I'm around my people and I'm comfortable, like I'm spitting one-liners.
Really?
I'm just going for it and I'll go off sometimes.
Yo, everyday
So
game changer exclusive. Chelsea
if
Walsh,
I
the
could,
comedian.
you can just call me Handler 2.0. My name's already Chelsea. I fit the bill. I'm a tall,
Oh,
hot blonde. I'm spicy.
oh,
No, I'm kidding.
that's an exclusive right
But
there.
yeah, no, if, I'm not trying to toot my own horn too much, but if I had a chance to like actually do like a comedy workshop or class, I had a friend of mine do that recently and he got a lot out of it. Um,
Really?
so, and that's
I
a,
didn't
my, yeah,
even know that
that's
existed.
news. That's news to you. There you go.
Goodness, man, we changing the game, man.
Yeah, yeah.
And so
So,
like, so give me like some last thoughts like that you can leave with our audience, man, especially about the pivoting of
mhm.
different businesses, or what's one thing you can tell somebody that's like really looking to get into this entrepreneur space. Get a
Oh,
piece of advice from the business queen herself.
and McQueen. I do a lot of weird voices too, so that was one of them. But my alter ego would probably tell you that an old adage is true. Like if you don't keep up with the times, you're gonna get left behind. So
Mm,
you have to be willing and open. Your heart, your mind, everything. You have to be open to all the new obstacles and the new possibilities that those obstacles bring.
yes,
You took that with 2020 and you were like, real estate captured. There we go.
let's
I
go.
took that and I have a podcast now. I never thought I'd have a podcast and I never thought I'd actually have a real consulting agency. But with those challenges, we just like rose up and we weren't afraid. So you have to be fearless and fierce with everything that you're doing and on all of your convictions. That's like my takeaway for the whole thing, the whole experience of last year to now.
There you have it from the business queen. I want to thank you. This was
Thank you.
such an easy episode, just a conversation. We definitely got to do this again and
For
get
sure.
some updates. And you definitely got to send me that address because I will be at Chuck's. I am a food guy,
Oh yeah.
so
Come
um,
through anytime. It's just on Hutchison Island. I live on the island, like you know where I'm at. It's just right here. And it's a great place to be anytime you want to join me. And definitely a cool conversation. Thank you so much for having me.
appreciate it, man. Thank you for tuning into the Everyday Game Changers podcast, talking to everyday people changing the game. And today's episode was no different. Shout out to Chelsea Walsh. Thank you.
Thanks so much for having me.